Hi Flosstube, my name is Julie. I'm at Jules Darling on Instagram and welcome to my channel. Thank you so much for choosing to spend some time with me today. I've been a long time Flosstube viewer. I love to watch so many different people and I just sort of thought, why not toss my hat into the ring, film something, see how it goes. So thank you for tuning in today. So as I mentioned, my name is Julie at Jules Darling. If I know you already on Instagram, that's been really good fun getting to connect with other stitchers, because in my real day-to-day life, I don't know a single person who stitches. I was born in Ohio in the States, but I have lived most of my life in Europe. So currently I'm in the Balkans, so sort of think Southeast Europe. So it's not a very popular activity here, but again, fortunately through these sort of more digital mediums like social media, Flosstube, all of that, I've been able to connect with stitchers. So my stitching journey, I'm a relatively new stitcher. I'm only heading into my 5th year of cross stitching. So I started in 2021. I'm sure it was a result of the pandemic that led me to sort of order a cross stitch piece. And I think the first one I ordered was maybe the little stitcher off of Etsy, and I ordered some supplies from Atelier Solide. At the time I was living in the Netherlands, but prior to that I had done a lot of crafty things as a child. I remember my babysitter would always have us, make Christmas decorations and gifts and all of that, but I never really did stitching. I remember doing one little kit back sort of in the 90s, probably I got it from Joann's, but this is just something I decided one day and I've fallen so hard for it, so I'm really quite addicted now. Mostly I stitch a lot of samplers, especially reproduction samplers. That's sort of where my heart lies. I do like prim style though, even some more kind of cutesy items. I do enjoy stitching on smalls to sort of break up the routine of only stitching on bigger sampler size pieces. But that's generally sort of the genre of stitching that I do. I'm also trying to become better at finishing my smalls so that they don't just languish away, sat in a plastic box in the back of my wardrobe. I'm not a very good sewer though, so I'm trying to improve that, but in the meantime, Aileen's tacky glue comes in handy, but that's something I'm trying to work on. I sort of already summarized why I was interested in starting a Flosstube. In addition to wanting to connect with other stitchers more, I would just say that I love having new episodes, even if I just have them on in the background as I'm doing my own stitching or I'm cleaning around the house or, doing whatever. I love to have people on whose style sort of resonates with me, who pick pieces that resonate with me. And because I don't have an LNS or, anything even remotely, like that in the area, it's really nice for me to be able to see things on Flosstube, because I think it's so different when you see a stitch piece coming together versus just what's on the front of a chart. I think, for example, in GGR charts where it's always the antique sampler on the front, you really, I think nobody, even with the most creative imagination, could really picture what it's going to look like in its final version. So that's part of the appeal for Flosstube to me, plus just, keeping updated on different techniques, different accessories, different styles, who's done these color changes, what linens. So I just find it a really enriching platform. And so I thought, why not just do it myself as well? Of course, I watch a lot of the sort of classics that I think everyone does. So Brenda and the Serial Starter, I think, was one of the first that I ever stumbled upon. Brenda and Laura are just, everyone's favorite, and for good reason. Carol Saltbox I really love. More recently, Audrey Marine, who is Stitch Bead. I really like the projects that she chooses on, and I just really enjoy her videos. Sean from Periwinkle Stitcher, not only her cross stitching, but her quilting, her embroidery, just her creativity is just unparalleled, and she's so prolific. I don't know how she has time in a day to get everything done. Lori Holt, her videos and her finishes are just out of this world and really inspiring. Mama Loves You GB, of course, Narissa's Stitching Lifestyle, Emily C, Lady Huzzah, the Sable Stitchers, and so many more. I think I watch, just about everyone. But those are just a few that really sort of speak to me, and whose style is maybe, the pieces that they stitch is somehow a little bit my style as well. So I am currently stitching, or I currently have about 9 whips. I'm not somebody who likes to have a ton of whips, and in fact 9 is probably too much for my liking. I'm not actively working on all 9, but even so I'd like to get that number down a bit lower. But I thought I would firstly take you through the whips that I am working on, tell you a little bit about them, and then also I would show you my 2024 finishes, so pieces that I finished stitching in this past year. The first is, and sorry, these are all wrinkled. I don't iron as I stitch. I use a hoop, and then I use the little magnetic sort of cable ties that you can get off of places like Amazon to keep the excess fabric rolled up. So my pieces get very wrinkly. So if anybody's ever taken a look at my Instagram page, unless the piece is like finished and framed, it's gonna be wrinkly. I really apologize for that. But first up, I have Ruth Bates by Hands Across the Sea. So I'm currently working on this berry bowl down in the bottom corner. And then everything else that's going to be in the center of the piece is non-normal cross stitching. There's some over 1 letters, there's some satin stitch, and I think there's some other type of embroidery stitches. But this is on 46 count affogato by Fiber on a Whim, and it's a Hands Across the Sea chart. I was hoping to have that finished by the end of 2024. However, it is currently the 29th of December, so I don't think there's any chance that I'm going to get that done. However, I am hoping to have that done really early in the year in 2025 because I'm going to Sampler Symposium and I want to be able to show it at the show and share, and also maybe take a photo with Nicola in the finished piece. Next I have a piece called Couronne d'Hiver, which is Crown of Winter by Jennifer Lentini. This is on 40 count Zweigart flax. It's stitched over 1 except for the white. I'll try to bring it a little closer. The white is over 2, sort of onto the snowflakes. I had seen a stitcher on Instagram. I forget her name. I believe that she's a Japanese stitcher, so I will try to put across the screen her Instagram handle. She was stitching on this and finished this, and I saw it about a year ago, and so I really wanted to get it done immediately when I saw it. However, I worked on it a bit last winter, and it's been sat there waiting for me to come back to it ever since. Hopefully later this winter, though, I will work on it more. Next one I have actually in a berry tomato bag. And this is shocking. So I was going through my whips I haven't touched in months, and so many of them I left on the hoop, which I know will make people gasp. But anyway, so this is, let me take it out of my princess hoop, which I could probably be using that princess hoop for a different piece right now. But anyway, so I am a top left starter, but this is Mary Gypsum. So you'll see I've gotten the full border and then just a tiny little sort of sawtooth type border. But this is Mary Gypsum by Whilst Iris Naps. So I have a lot to go. And this is on 46 count Thornfield by Needle and Flax. That's the one with the 2 red houses. I really, really love it. I think it's super beautiful, and I definitely want to work on that in this upcoming year. In general, when a lot of people are stitching on a piece though, it usually kind of puts me off on working on it, and I think that's what stopped me on this one, just because a lot of people were stitching on it after it was released, and somehow that just doesn't really spark my interest. So hopefully now that maybe people have finished theirs and I can look at the finishes for inspiration but not feel like everybody's working on it, maybe then I will be able to go and work on it more. Next I have the Egg Collector by Teresa Kogut. So you see the little bunny and some letters. I'm not a big spring stitcher. I don't love pastels and things like that. Of course, I adore Teresa Kogut and everything she does though. And this Egg Collector chart was just so cute. I have an idea for a finish. If I can actually get it done for this Easter, that would be really great. This is stitched on 40 count color and cotton in the shade Chamomile I used to be in the fabric club. I canceled it because I just felt like, oh, I'm getting too many fabrics, and I regret that because then I couldn't get back in because it was so popular. And I really, really love their linens. And I know they're I think, changing up some of their, fabric and floss of the month club. So I'm not sure what's going on there, but yeah, if you haven't ever checked out their linens, I really would recommend it. I like them a lot. Next, I have my only full coverage piece. Full coverage doesn't generally interest me that much, but Nikki Noodle, who has the Australian Flosstuber, she's got a channel here. I think it's been a while since she's done a video. She does still occasionally post on Instagram. She posted this chart, and I think at the time she had posted it, I had already made floss drops with this image as like the icon. So when Mama Loves You GB started this floss drop craze, I had created my own with an image painted by a Renoir, and it's Julie Manet with cat. Sometimes the picture is called something else, but it's a little girl, Julie Manet, the daughter of the painter Manet. And because she has my name Julie and she's holding a little cat, I'm a crazy cat lady. You saw my cat in the background at the beginning. I thought, okay, I really have to paint this, stitch this. So Nikki inspired me to start this. And I think I am about, if I remember correctly, somewhere around like 35 or 40% done. I was supposed to be doing 5% a month and would have it done by now. Of course, have I done that? No. This is on 20 count Aida Easy Grid. I am thinking maybe if I do a next video, I'll talk about my plans for 2025, and then this and some other pieces maybe will come into play then. Next, I have Moons of 2022 by Kathy Barrick. This is stitched on 40 count paper bark by Fox and Rabbit. This is a pretty intense stitching piece. It's got a heavy border on the top, a heavy border on the bottom, and lots in the middle. I don't know why I kind of went off of this for a while. I think that just this style isn't my usual style, even though I adore everything Kathy Barrick does. But I was originally stitching on this with a group. We were the Full Moon Sal. We first did Moonsick by the Primitive Needle, which is a long out of print chart. And then we did some other little moon stitches, and then we thought, okay, we'll work on this one. And I think all of us have sort of lost steam. It was Karen from Fox and Rabbit, Julie from Kansas City Girl in a Colorado World, and I think Memphis Sarah E. But I really want to get back to this because it's really beautiful, especially as I look at it here. So we'll see. Next, I have, I think, my second to oldest whip. One of the very first pieces I started stitching, and I still haven't finished it. It is Babushka's Bees by Plum Street Samplers. And this is on a 32 count linen cappuccino by Fiber on a Whim. And again, sorry for the wrinkles. I don't enjoy 32 count in particular because I don't enjoy stitching with 2 threads. It's just more time consuming to railroad and all of that. So this isn't necessarily a chart that I would pick up and start stitching now. But in the beginning, I stitched a piece or 2 on Aida, and then I switched over to 32 count linen to see how linen would go. Much prefer linen, just the overall feel of stitching on it, but I don't like the higher counts. So I don't want to give up on this though, because it's a really, really sweet chart. And I think I was originally drawn to it rather because of its name, Babushka's Bees, because my mother always referred to me as a little babushka when I was small. So I'm thinking, I'm about halfway through this. I think if I just power through, finish the rest, and turn it into a little pillow that maybe I can gift to my mom, maybe like for Mother's Day or something like that, that would be quite nice. So this is the oldest piece that I have not finished. It is shamefully still in a hoop and very, very wrinkled. So this is a chart by Luca S. It's a unicorn. It's on this dyed piece of Aida, and this was meant to be a birth sampler for my goddaughter who turned 5 last September. So that will tell you that I am quite behind the times. And I honestly don't know if I will continue to stitch on this. I just found it really hard to keep track of the counting, and at the time I was just marking up, the paper chart that came with the kit, and so I'm not entirely sure of what I have stitched, what I haven't. Maybe I'll get back to it though, and maybe by her 6th birthday, I can get it done for her. But yeah, that's the Luca S kit unicorn. And then my last whip, I think I'm going to restart it. So this is a long out of print design. So it's often known as Jacob's Ladder, but its, I think, formal name is KNV 9704. It's by the Dutch company Kunst en Vlieger, which Dutch people, sorry that I just bastardized your language, but they're no longer printing their charts, so they're quite hard to get hold of. And oftentimes on the chart, it just has like a number as the title of the piece. So the 9704, if you're looking for it on the secondary market, it might be under that. But I've seen a lot of people refer to it as Jacob's Ladder sampler because it has the Jacob's Ladder motif. So this one I have on a 40 count Lakeside in vintage bisque. And I decided, so this is supposed to be stitched for in DMCs. And I'll put up a picture of what it's meant to look like in the DMC. There's I think Bayou City Stitcher on Instagram finished hers, and it's beautiful, and she did the DMCs, and I love it. But for some reason, I was on a big silk kick when I decided to start this. So instead of stitching it in the DMCs, I thought I would do my own thread conversion. And I've only gotten a tiny little start done, but I think my colors just don't feel exactly what I want the piece to look like. So I'm currently trying to decide what to do. Do I stitch it with the DMCs? Do I get somebody better at silk conversions like the Attic to do a silk conversion? I really like overdyed silks. I like overdyed colors in general quite a lot, although it is easier to stitch with non-overdyed threads, whether they're silk or DMC, because you don't have to worry about the variegation so much. So I'm trying to figure that out, but I really, really want to get this done in 2025, so I need to make my mind up soon. So those are, I believe, all of my current whips that I am working on. Hopefully you'll see a finish by Hands Across the Sea, and then there's a lot of winter smalls / Christmas smalls that I think I'll continue to stitch on. So fingers crossed, wish me some luck on that. Okay, so now I thought I would talk you through the pieces that I finished in 2024. And according to my list, I have 22 finishes for the year, but there's a little bit of cheating involved in that, and so I'll explain that as I get to those pieces. These I don't think are in any particular order, although actually they might be in order of the ones that I started first, but not necessarily those that I finished first. So the first is Pineberry Lane Jiggity Jig. These three cute witches. This is on 40 count farm eggs by XJu's Design, who's on Etsy. Her linens are amazing. And she has a huge range of colors as well, both great for samplers and also more interesting colors. If you know a color that you want from her, but she doesn't have it currently in her store, I know that you can reach out to her and she will dye a lot for you and ship it to you. So this is on her farm eggs, and it's in Weeks Dye Works charcoal. So I'll probably just turn that into a little pillow. Next is a piece that's currently at the framers, so I don't have it to show you. I'll try to show you a picture of the finished piece by inserting it by magic here, but it is Ragamuffin 2 by Shakespeare's Peddler, and I stitched mine on a 40 count Lakeside Vintage Light Exemplar. I have picked out a frame, and they're supposed to be done mid-January, so hopefully I can have that to show quite soon. That was a really, really fun piece to stitch. Next, I have a Teresa Kogut, and I want to say this was my first Teresa Kogut that I ever stitched, which is crazy that it took me so long. But this is her ornament piece. I think this is what in a Punch Needle and Primitive Stitcher magazine, but I was thinking to turn that originally into just an oval ornament, but now I'm thinking of doing it as an oval mattress finish. However, that far exceeds my skills, so I would need to send that off to a finisher if that's how I'm going to stitch it. But this piece is on 36 Granite by Zweigart. Next, I stitched Little Berry Thief, a little strawberry by Scattered Seed Samplers. I stitched that on 36 count Milk Coffee, also by XJ Design. And that was gifted as part of a gift exchange at the Stitch in London Sampler Edition, which was, I think, in February of 2024. So I don't have that, but hopefully I can find a picture. The next couple are also items that I gifted. These two went to some just of my good girlfriends. So I did LOVE by Hands On Design. and that was just on like miscellaneous kind of pinky linen that I got. Especially when I was in the Netherlands, I shopped a lot with Casa Sanina, which is kind of like a 1, 2, 3 stitch for Europe, and so that they would sometimes send out, you know, freebie pieces that weren't marked or labeled. So that's why I stitched that on. And then I also did another hands-on design, and I think both of these were freebie charts, but this other one was called Love You. It was also just on a miscellaneous linen. So the next piece I did was, this I'm counting as 3 because it's technically 3 sort of small finishes. So this is a spool holder. So this was completely not only inspired, but just directly copied off of Nicola Parkman from Hands Across the Sea. So this is something that she had showed on her channel. I added a little waxer, sort of heart and hand theme, but she had bought this spool holder from a gentleman in Italy who sells on Etsy. And then she offered in her video that if you wanted to chart it, or if you wanted to stitch it rather, she would send you the charts for free. Her charts did only work if you stitch on 56 count, which I love stitching on super small counts. I think this was only the 2nd or 3rd time I'd ever stitched on 56 count, but I really enjoy it. So this I did on a 56 count Light Nougat by XG Design, so clearly I like her linen a lot. But this is a pattern, I believe that if you reach out to Nicola, she would send you the pattern. Otherwise, you can just get the dimensions of this wood piece and you know, very easily kind of chart your own design. But this is one that's sort of in my stitching cabinet, really, really proud of this finish. And the next 2, which are numbers 10 and 11, are from the Mary Alcorn series, which are 2 from the Hobby House Mary Alcorn sampler that they have turned into little smalls. So I have a pin keep drum and I have a scissor holder, and I'll try to maybe bring that a little closer so you can see. And I've got a beautiful pair of Kohana scissors. These are definitely, I absolutely love these pieces, and I love the idea of smalls that are sort of created out of a bigger sampler piece and sort of displaying them all together. But this level of finishing, I felt like it was way above my pay grade. So this was done by Vanna Pfeiffer, so the Twisted Stitcher. She was an absolute pleasure to work with. She's so professional, not only in her stitching skills, but how she runs her business. She sends you all of the information to answer any question you could possibly ever ask. Or want to know, and if you have more questions, she'll quickly respond to those as well. But she is, you know, such a master finisher, right? So in addition to sharing all of her knowledge with us for free on YouTube and through her article that she does in Punch Needle and Primitive Stitcher magazine, she also is able to sort of recommend to you, like if you have an idea for a finish but you're not exactly sure if it's possible, you know, she can kind of talk you through the options. Or for me, she was making this pillow piece for me, and she had some recommendations, and it turned out just absolutely stunningly. So really, really happy with that. So left in this series is a little mattress finish, which I haven't stitched yet, but I'm planning on it, and I'm planning to send it to her for finishing. And I just ordered the actual full-size sampler, which was released as an exclusive in the Homespun sampler group on Facebook. But it's my understanding that that will be sort of, you know, exclusive to that group. It's no longer for sale for a year, and then Hobby House and I imagine other retailers will be able to, will be selling that to the general market. The next finish I did was also a giveaway. This is a giveaway at the Farm Girl gatherings in Amana this past spring, and I did Bee Grain Sack by Queen Bee Handmade, who is an Italian designer on Etsy. And she has this beautiful style, you know, a bit prim, but really, really gorgeous. And I really enjoy stitching her piece. And I think I'm gonna make another one for myself because I was really sad when I gave it away. I really liked it. Hopefully I have a picture, but I stitched it on 40 count Platinum by Zweigart. The next finish I have might be the one that I'm the most proud of everything. So the stitch piece is Painted Flowers by Shakespeare's Peddler, and this is on 36 count Weeks Dye Worked Twilight. I'll try to also maybe put in some better pictures. So this is the finished stitching. But if you can see, I put it on some sewing machine drawers. So if you look from the front side here, here's 2 drawers, and they do actually, let me see if I can do this without completely spilling everything. The drawers do pull out, but I saw this idea at the Country Sampler in Spring Green, Wisconsin, and I was just obsessed with this finish, and I stitched the piece, I finished it, and sorry, it's covered in cat hair, and I just love it. So when I bought these drawers, I bought them off of Etsy, and it just so happened to be somebody that I was visiting the States. They were super close by, like 30 minutes down the road. I went and picked them up, but it came with 2 drawers. So now what I'm thinking is to do another piece on the top of the other one. I'm looking at maybe Shakespeare's Peddler Most Wonderful, which is one of her newer charts, but that's not quite the dimensions I need. So I'd either have to, augment it and maybe replicate parts of the pattern to make it big enough to fit the top, or I was thinking about charting my own design. We'll see, but this finish, the piece fit perfectly. I used the call for threads. I think I mentioned, but 36 count Twilight linen by Weeks Dye Works. And then I just cut out a piece of cardboard by tracing the top of the actual board and then putting some batting and then just lacing the back. So it was actually really quite an easy finish, but I think it's just gorgeous. So this next finish is one that I count for 2 because I stitched it for somebody else for a giveaway, and then I liked it so much that I stitched it again for myself. This is on the same linen as the last one, so this is 36 counts Twilight by Weeks Dye Works. This is Stacy Nash House on Pumpkin Hill. I think I used the called for threads. I finished the back with a piece of velvet, and then I've got some chenille trim, a little bow, and then off of Etsy I found these little bat pins, which I just think are so cute. So I stitched one that's gone away and one for myself, but counting that as 2. The next one I stitched is not finished yet, but it was my first animal cracker. So this was an animal cracker crumb, I think is what Stacy Nash calls it. It's Oliver, it's a little black cat. And when this gets finished, it's in a little circular shape, and she has it with a little orange bow and a bell. So I think that is indeed how I'm going to finish it as well. This I stitched on either a 36 count or 40 count, I'm not really sure, maybe 36. But anyways, it's by Dutch Mill, which is I think the in-house dyeing name for a Dutch cross-stitch shop called De Handwerk Boutique, who I think, even though she's in the Netherlands, she ships anywhere, but she's dyed some of her own linen, so I have that, so that's what that is stitched on. Next I did Ho Ho Ho, which is I didn't write it down, but I believe Pineberry Lane freebie. So this is just a little finish that I did. I still need to add some to it. But this I also stitched on the same linen, and I put a piece of velvet on the back, but I accidentally sewed it wrong side out. So, but I quite liked the finish, so I left it there. So that was finish number 17. Numbers 18 through 21. Again, this is what I'm talking about, a little bit of a cheat. So Not Forgotten Farms Little Nick. This is a new one that she's released. I stitched this for 3 of my girlfriends and also myself, so I'm counting that as 4 finishes. I stitched this on 40 count Vamp Up by Vicki Clayton. So a lot of you probably, I'm sure, know Vicki for her silks that she dyes. She has started dyeing linens, and so I ordered some just to sort of give them a try. Very nice to stitch on. Good colors for samplers especially. I finished it with a little peppermint mint background, a little green chenille trim, and a little ribbon. Like I said, I'm not the best finisher in the world, but at least they're done. They got given as gifts, so that was really nice. And then one more piece I have to go grab. So this is my last stitched piece for the year. This is Stacy Nash's Gingerbread House Sewing Book. This was an exclusive to the Jingle Ball. There has been some back and forth I've seen online about whether this chart will ever be released. I know most of the Jingle Bell patterns that are originally exclusives eventually do get released, but I heard somebody mention that Stacy wasn't going to be releasing this, so I'm not sure if it's still available or not. But I stitched mine on 40 count Mackinac Fudge by Needle and Flax. And so I finished it with a little ribbon around the front, but let me undo it and kind of show it to you a little closer. So I used the called for threads on Mackinac Fudge, as I mentioned, that's the front. The back is super cute, like a little mouse up there, stockings by the fire. And then I just used on the inside a miscellaneous 32 count, just sort of lighter linen. I'm not sure what color it is. And then I had a piece of velvet that I think was in maybe the color beetroot, and I want to say it was Olympia Wool Works. I think it's some wools that I had gotten on Etsy. So I have a little vintage button that I put there and finished that there. So yeah, so this, I was really happy that I actually followed through and finished it. I watched, I didn't finish the stitching before the Jingle Ball, but I did watch her video at the time, and then I went back and re-watched it as I was finishing it. So this is just something that's super festive. I've never stitched anything like this in terms of finishing before, so really happy with how that came out, even though, you know, as with everything, there's little pieces that I would have done differently were I to stitch it again or were I to sew it again. And then lastly, these are not pieces that I stitched in this year, but they're Christmassy holiday pieces that I thought it would be good to show given the time of year right now. These were stitched, you know, at other times, but only finished this year, I believe. Yeah, everything was finished this year. So this first one is Merry Christmas by, I think it's Abby Rose Designs. I'm sure this is on 40 Count Duxbury by Fox and Rabbit, which I think is maybe my all-time favorite linen. I used a piece of green velvet for the backing. I know this chart is not easy to get. Apparently the designer has gone through some poor health and so is not printing her charts right now, but I don't think that they're officially, you know, out of print forever. So I think a lot of folks are hoping that she will be well again and maybe release her charts again. But if you can find it on the secondary market, I really, really like this one. Again, like my sewing, not the best on the bottom. I also would have filled it a bit fuller. This is with sawdust, but you know, it's cute, I like it. Another chart that I finished this year is, I think this is Spread Joy by Hands to Work. This was in a Kitten Stitcher Advent box a couple of years ago. So I used the called for threads. I had some random fabric from Spoonflower. I'd ordered a bunch of samples and then just used some there and put kind of like a tealy green chenille around the edge. And this just has polyfill inside. So this is a bit of a lighter weight one. Here is a little ornament finish. This is Noel. I think this is from Thread Milk Designs. I'd have to look up. It comes in a booklet that I think has maybe 4 or so different Christmas charts. So this says Noel. I really, really like this. I just have some little green reindeer fabric. I'll probably put a button on there, but she got up on my tree this year, which is great. Next, I have a Kathy Barrick finish. This is a chart, I think that came out last year. I know I stitched this on 56 count because I wanted it to be super small. I used a pom-pom trim, a little ribbon, and then it has this nice tartan backing. Yeah, so I really like how tiny this is. I think I changed the colors on this a little bit, like I just pulled from stash. I don't think I stitched the colors as they were called for. And then the last piece, which is the nicest finish because I didn't do it. This is another one that Vonna finished for me. This is, I want to say this is a Hands to Work chart as well. And I think it was from a Just Cross Stitch ornament magazine. So I would have to check again exactly the name and which issue of the magazine, but if you're interested to know, just let me know. But it's this adorable little reindeer. I stitched it in silks, and Vonna finished it in this sort of like half moon shape, and I mean, it's just beautiful. Like her finishing is just amazing. I love the backing fabric, the fact that she did this cording in matching colors to kind of correspond. The bow is perfect, the bells, really, really something to aspire to there. So yeah, so I think these are all of the ones I'm going to show for today. I have no idea how long that took, but thank you for sticking with me this far if you are still here. Please feel free to come find me on Instagram to drop any questions you might have in the box below. I think we'll see how this goes. if I decide to make a second one. If I do, I was thinking next time to talk about my 2025 stitching plans, and then maybe do a bit of a kit parade, because I don't keep too many whips on the go, but I have a lot of kits, both ones that I bought as kits and also ones that I have kitted up sort of on standby, ready to go, particularly of reproduction samplers. So let me know if that would be of interest, and thank you again for watching. All right, have a good rest of your day. Bye.